Shalom, Hebrews. Got a high-level riddle cracking session, so you're going to need a tinfoil hat for this one. Anyway, I want to tackle this Merovingian Zionist, particularly the Merovingian bloodline or king lines, okay, guys? Because this is a huge part, if really the central plot of the DaVinci Code, as the Merovingian king lines. Supposedly we're descending from the bloodline of Jesus Christ, and the Catholic Church is supposedly, covering this up, and that's really what the Templars are protecting, is the bloodline of Mary Magdalene. And that goes in not only with the Merovingian French king lines, but also with the King Arthur Holy Grail legend as well, okay, right? So there's a couple of pages here I was just going over. All right, France, Merovingian Merovingian dynasty. And now this is huge because you have France was the one, particularly, again, the Merovingians. Of course, King Clovis was the first one that started this with a baptism at 508. Okay, so that's what starts this 1290 day prophecy. Okay, guys? Because, and you can see it right here. You see that? We just showed you that 508, 507. It's the same thing. You got the Franks right here. So going to a Bible commentary, let's see, this is pretty astounding because, where was it? 10th part of the city fell. This is right after the two witnesses in the 1260. Okay, John Gill, this is before it happened, he thinks that France is meant. The last of the 10 kingdoms that rose up out of the ruins of the Roman Empire will be conquered. So France, Merovingian king lines, gave the Vatican basically the boot of Italy. You do some research on that, and they took it away with the French Revolution and Napoleon. Okay, guys, connect the dots. You'll see that, and Napoleon was big about getting these bees. Okay, and that's kind of a half fleur-de-lis as well. But Father Clovis, this tomb, okay, they found, and this is where the Napoleon bee comes from. These Merovingian bees inspired Napoleon in a departure from the fleur-de-lis, used his reign of whatever that guy's name is, adapted them as a symbol of French. Okay, guys? So you have this idea that the symbol of immortality and resurrection. This is the Masonic bee with these Luciferian king lines as well. Okay, guys? Very origins of France, golden bees, or cicadas. Think about the fifth trumpet, they're very much close to a locust, right? Where they came out, okay? Because they come out of the ground. That's the abyss, the bottomless pit. Locusts and cicadas, right? They come out of the ground. And they, of course, that's the Merovingian king lines. Okay, guys? So now I want to show you, take a segue real quick about this millennialism concept. How this millennialism has been hijacked. I'll show you that real quick, and we'll come back here. Here I've got a National Geographic, very much so from the Catholic perspective, talking about the importance of the baptism of Clovis here. Now I've got the general book on the General Councils, and you can see the General Council of Vienna here. And of course, the whole concept of this is the whole Templar / the money and the banking system here, and the Grand Master de Molay. Of course, that's Friday the 13th. Everyone's pretty familiar with that, right? And you can see this concept here on the left page showing, with that footnote number 13, you can see that the propagation of such notions could become a real social plague. Now, that's talking about, you can see the footnote here, the quest of the millennium, how the millennium always comes out here during these revolutions, and they're trying to basically bring, God's kingdom on earth, okay? We'll talk about that a little bit further, okay? Of course, you got Joseph of Arimathea, that's the whole, of course, he is Josephus, apparently. within the grapevine conspiracies. And then you've got the importance of Clovis I here. You got King Arthur showing that again. And now Jehu was anointed by Elisha. Okay, who are the two witnesses in the book of Revelation? As Moses and Elijah, and then at the end of the 3.5, the cloak, or I should say the role of prophet went to Elisha. Who does he anoint to slay Jezebel? He anoints Jehu in the Phrygian cult. Okay, that's the two witnesses, Moses and Elijah plus Elisha. This is why fire comes out of their mouth and they strike the earth with plagues. So they anoint Jehu right here, wearing that Phrygian cap, to reign with basically the 10th of the city falls. Okay, that's France. Napoleon slaying Jezebel. Okay, so this is that book that I was showing you in the that book on the history of the church. Okay, guys, and it's basically just goes how the Millennium is used for anarchists, all that fun stuff. Okay, throughout, you know, whatever's Marxism or the French Revolution. Okay, so this idea is very much so intertwined with the mud flood conspiracy and the alternative chronologic history that goes along with this. Because what are they saying with this Tartarian conspiracy? And we've gone over the Tartarian conspiracy plenty on this channel. It's basically very much so, it's Gog and Magog. Okay, guys? But one of the big things with this Tartarian conspiracy is the 1,000-year reign. Now, this is something, or the Millennium. Now, this is something that comes out quite often. Well, I'll just show you right here. Again, John Gill. The question is, talking about the 1,000 years, when have they begun or not? Okay, that's the great question. Some think about this began at Jesus' resurrection or at the destruction of Jerusalem, about 70 AD, saying he lumps it and puts it at 1100. So what they're doing with this Tartarian millennialism concept is they have to subtract 1,000 years from the timeline so they can start it at the resurrection. Because what they're saying is, that group in some of the Gospels, when Jesus rose from the dead, there was this group, what we would call a special resurrection, that rose from the dead. And that's when they're saying, the 1,000 years started, and it's this reign of the priestcraft and the saints. That's that special group that reigned with Jesus for 1,000 years. Later on in Revelation 20, it talks about the saints reigning. So they're saying that's the Catholic Church, essentially. And the mud flood is basically, and all this conspiracy that's the whole thing is, Jesus' 1,000-year reign on earth has already happened. So not only, they say the I and the J on a coin is basically what we would call Roman numeral 1. They said stands for Yeshua or Jesus. And they're saying that that's actually, they're basically subtracting the 1 from that, okay, guys? And not only that, since the French Revolution happened at 1800 or 1798, they basically have to subtract another 200 years to get to that 800-year French Revolution mud flood date, okay? It's very interesting. But anyway, this 1,000 years, as we've showed you earlier, has always been used for this concept of this revolutionary idea, okay? Anarchist, whatever you want to say. So others begin the year at Constantine's reign, coming to the imperial throne. Others begin it at, looks like the Reformation here, okay? Let's see what else. But we know with the 1,000 years is different than the Dark Ages because it's literal 1,000 years. And we know that the earth will be burned up at the second coming, according to 2 Peter 3:13, right? So, and basically you meet him in the air. So that's how you know. But it's so strange because, like I said, this Tartarian conspiracy is just full of symbols. And how, hypothetically, let's say their theory was true. That's some real, what happens at the end of the 1,000 years? Battle of Gog and Magog. So you do have this Tartarian concept at the end of the 1,000 years. Anyway, that's the irony of that. Okay, guys? So hopefully you're starting to connect the dots with this. And of course, that 12, I showed you this 1290, and that's in contrast with the 1260 day for year prophecy, right? Is that starts at that 508, okay, guys? So when the baptism of Clovis was 508 in the French king lines, right? And then you do 1290 at 508, and that gives you 1798, and that was when the French Revolution happened. I can show you real quick at this map. You can see you've got, which I also thought was interesting, is you got Clovis right here, okay, 510 year. Then you also have King Arthur at the same exact overlap. Okay, so you could also say that's just the Scottish Rite is actually French, and then you have the York Rite, which is obviously Britain, right? And those two, King Arthur, ironically, also starts at this around this 538 date. Okay, like I said, plus 1260, and they'll get you to 1798, which was the deadly wound to the papacy. Okay, see if I can find it right here. Napoleon, right here. See that? Okay. And it was Pope Pius that was taken captive. Whoever kills a sword will be killed with a sword, right? Okay, so it's very interesting. Hopefully you're starting to connect the dots with this Merovingian bloodline and the king lines, okay, that gave the Pope or the papacy their power, okay, guys? So that is why you see this concept of the Merovingians dynasty still ruling. And of course, Napoleon used these bees to legitimize his reign, or his lineage, if you will, to Clovis I. Okay, guys? So there is some huge, like I said, calling cards, if you will. Now, what's interesting also is, let's look up Jezebel here. Here you can see is the Vatican. Okay, that is the classic Protestant view. And that's why you have Jehu right here in his Phrygian cult ruling with the papacy, or the 10 kings, a deadly wound, 1798. Thanks for watching.